it was the most beautiful experience up to that point in my entire life. I now have a reference point of what all those spiritual people were telling me about. There's finally this framework of not conceptual, but experiential, right? And it was like, whoa, that's what my life is meant. Holy shit. I come back down and I asked him, I said, you're the most spiritual person I know. What do I do now?
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I am your humble servant and seafood Taoist Master San Qing. It's been a while. It's now Christmas morning. Yes, you've heard this all before. I come down to the tree and look what the incredible universe has brought me. This amazing being. I want to welcome to the podcast Ken Fibbe, who is also a former Korean TV star and an experiencer, a conscious creator, a explorer of all things beyond the mind. I want to welcome you to the podcast, my dear friend.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And what a great intro. You know, I still struggle sometimes when people say he's a former Korean TV star and they don't see a Korean on the camera. They're like, there's got to be a story to that, right? And there definitely is. So, but what an honor to be on here, and I appreciate you bringing me on today.
Thank you.
To this.
I really appreciate you coming on and spending your time with us today. So why don't you take a moment and share a little bit about yourself leading up to this point?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll start from the beginning, and I'll kind of interject here and there. I won't spend too much time in the beginning, but I will lead to the point to where I was in Korea. What got me on a spiritual podcast, which I never would have thought even a year ago, right, that this would have happened. But at the end, my goal is to kind of leave, as you do with your audience, leave people with practical steps of what they can do to achieve higher states of consciousness, right? There is faster ways to do it than sitting and meditating in a cave for years, as you've spoken about many times. But I have some interesting ways in my last year in this journey of getting to relatively high states of consciousness in very short periods of time, much to a good and bad. And so stay tuned for that. But in the beginning, I was born in the state of Kentucky. I was born of 6 in a super ultra Catholic family. In a religious place, we were the most religious family. And I was going to study to be a priest. I was very, very, very religious, studying nonstop Catholicism, but a lot of fear was in my system, an insane amount of fear, okay? The hell thing, I believe more than anybody. And there's something to be said about that, right? I think there's something to be said about marching millions of kids into church and saying that Santa Claus is not real, but hell is real, right? And so that's a whole nother form of abuse in the church that I won't even get into. But so I had a lot of fear. I was a mute for a while. I didn't want to speak because I didn't want to sin. I eventually moved out of that and I grew up, but I always had this seed inside of me that said, you got to leave. I got 5 brothers and sisters. There's a lot of heroin in my hometown. It's just not a great place to be. Okay. It's very low vibrational. And I said, I got to get out of here. I don't know what it is about me. I've always I don't get along with anybody here. I got to leave. And so eventually I became a news reporter, and that was great, except I saw too many things and I wasn't ready to see some of the things that I saw. And one of my friends was traveling South Korea, and she posted some pictures online, and it was her traveling Saudi Arabia and Myanmar. And I said, how did you do that? How are you doing this? You're from Kentucky. I'm from here. She went to a different high school than me, but how did you do it? And she said, I just went to Korea. I took random jobs. They'll pay you to do random stuff. They'll pay you to be in a movie. They'll pay you to be a hairstylist. They'll pay you just because you're a foreigner. They'll just give you money, right? They'll pay you like $50 an hour to teach English. You can get a job. It doesn't matter. Just come over there and you'll see. You'll just get offered jobs. Okay. So I said, okay. I quit my job as a reporter. I took a one-way flight and I flew to South Korea. And I was
not North Korea.
Not North Korea. No, not North Korea. Although I have often thought, if you were an enlightened person in North Korea, if you had this enlightenment, right, who are you going to tell, right? What interesting place to have an awakening, right? Like, who do you talk to? And so one day, months in, I'm traveling the world. I'm doing exactly that. Just pictures here, pictures there, teaching English. It didn't matter. It was all very easy. And it was much easier than being a news reporter. I was traveling the world. And one day, this guy comes up to me in a bar and he says, "Hey, man, do you want to be in a movie?" And I said, "I'm not an actor." And he said, "It doesn't matter over here. Look around you. There's not a lot of, there's like, if you look on TV, there's a lot of roles for white people to play white roles." And, you know, the army guy, the guy at the bar that does that thing, right? Or just in general. And there's not as much people here that can do it. We got some army soldiers over here, but most people are teaching English. And so there's not a lot of people that can do it. And they need to look a certain way and they have to act a certain way. You just got to have a certain standard and you can do it. I said, "That sounds amazing. Let's do it." I did that movie and it was rated as the worst movie of 2013, but that's okay because that was it. That was my break. This is my life. The first time that I was on set, I was enamored. There was one of the most famous people in South Korea and everyone is telling you you're amazing. Your ego just becomes a watermelon, right? Like, I don't care how humble you think you are, but when we've got cameras everywhere and Koreans going, "Oh my God, oh, it looks so great. Oh, you did such a great job." And then you can't express what that drug feels like. And I said, "This is what I want to do forever." That guy said he was going to sign me. He never signed me. He promised the world. Nothing happened until one day I got a big break. X-Men Days of Future Past was filming a commercial over there to release the movie. I was Michael Fassbender in quotation marks, okay? Custom-made Magneto suit, and that was my break. Big time. Next thing I knew, after that, I got a role here, here, here. Fast forward 7 years, and I was in 130 different TV shows, commercials, movies, dramas, billboards, magazine ads. It's just, I was writing for it. I was producing sometimes. I was casting for it. I was acting in it. And it was insane. I was that white guy that was in everything. It was in a lot of, it wasn't in everything, but it was in a lot of things. And it got to the point to where my favorite thing that I did, I was the main actor on their top reenactment show called MBC Surprise. Right. And it was a very famous show. Ask any Korean, MBC Surprise. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's been on air for 20 years. It's the longest running show in Korean history." And because I was just the white guy that played the Beatles, because it was a reenactment show, right? So I was every Beatle once. I was a Nazi like 50 times. I was the Dingo Ate My Baby Dad. It didn't matter. It was always whatever interesting story they wanted to tell. I was the guy that played the character just with some really shitty makeup on. And I did a kids show. My favorite thing was I had a kids show. It was the #1 live action kids show in South Korea. It was Teletubbies, and it wasn't Teletubbies. It's more like the Wiggles. It was like, you know, the Wiggles. Remember the Wiggles? It's like just like 3 white guys that put on all red, all yellow, and all blue to teach 3 to 7-year-olds English, right? It was take a bath, you know, and my cute little Pomeranian was on the show. Right? It was adorable. And it was on the most famous channel right as soon as kids got out. And so I joked that I might be like a B or C-list celebrity with normal people, quote unquote normal people, the average population. But with kids and older people that love MBC Surprise, they knew who I was, right? They knew who I was. And it was amazing. I couldn't believe what my life was. There was a lot of alcoholism. I was drinking a lot. My ego blew up out of control. I was never a jerk, because I got up there because I was so nice to people on set. I was never a jerk, but I definitely was expecting things. Tables at the club, model girlfriends. I had to have multiple girls, not just one. I had to drink a lot. I had to. Everything was Instagram, just models, all that. You can imagine already. Small town Kentucky, filled with fear his whole life, to zero religion, spirituality at all, and then living life like wraparound apartment in the top party area, and then one of the biggest cities in the world with just accolades left and right. It was so, oh, it was so much fun. I was genuinely happy. And I'll stop right there to pause real quick to see if you have any questions or any follow-ups before I continue to the pivot point.
Yeah, no, get to the pivot point. How could something crush this straight run of one hit after another? I can't wait.
Yeah. And I went through a lot of depressive episodes. I mean, it wasn't easy. I had to work my way up. I lived in a shoebox. Literally, it's half twin bed size room called a Goshiwan. So I struggled a lot to get there, but eventually I made it there. And I was dating a Korean girl. And see, over there, they have two different kinds of law. They've got Korean law, and then they've got foreigner law. And, it's foreigners, we kind of know about that when we live over there, right? Like, you can't, it's really weird. They get weird laws like we can't protest or even promote any of their politicians online. We can't leave bad reviews online of businesses. They can say something. If you have a business, it has to be owned majority by a Korean, right? We're not allowed to punch even in self-defense against the Korean. It's really, really weird. You can go to jail just for that. And so there's like people on the subway that'll come up and just start hitting you or yelling at you, trying to get you to punch them so they can get money from you from when the police arrive, right? It's really weird. It was a thing. I was like, I'm a nice guy. Nothing's ever happened to me, even though I know several people that it happened to. I was like, it's not going to happen to me. And I was dating this Korean girl, and I broke up with her. She did not take the breakup well, probably because I lied to her. To be honest, I lied to her. I just wanted to not have a girlfriend. I just wanted to have lots of women, and I didn't have the heart to tell her because I was low vibration back then. I was very immature, and she knew it. So she said, "You ruined my life, so I'm going to ruin yours." She sent me that text, and I was on a movie set with Jennifer Eel. Jennifer Eel is she was in Pride and Prejudice back in the day, Mission Impossible 3. She's like a character actress in America. And she was flown over to film this movie, this action movie. And I was her partner in the movie. And my scene was to block the police from coming in. Interpol. We were CIA. Interpol was trying to come in and intercept, and I got to block the door. It was first day on set, and about eight or nine takes in, they're like, cut. And then my agent comes up and he says, the police are here. And I said, I know, I got to block the door. And he says, no, the real police are here. And they're saying that you deal drugs in South Korea. Do you deal drugs here? I'm like, what? And I go backstage, and there's 5 undercover detectives there. They hold up a phone that in English says, you're under arrest for dealing drugs in South Korea. And they put handcuffs on me, tie me up in a rope. And in front of everybody, they're like, this guy deals drugs. We're taking him away. They cart me away, put me into an unmarked van, drive right to my hotel room. They knew where that was because I guess they were following me. They were tracking me. Right in my hotel room, just like in the movies. They didn't find anything because there was no drugs. I would tell your audience if I had drugs. There was no drugs. It's not a drug dealer. And I have nothing to lose now. They went to my apartment. And the whole way, they're holding up this dossier. They're like yelling at me. They're calling me their version of the N-word, which is Yankee. Seki means fucker. And Yankee is like Yankee, right? So they kept calling me Yankee Seki. Like they were trying to really, really get to me. And coincidentally, although I found out later, there is no coincidences. These are not real teeth here. So I have 12 fake teeth because the week before that happened, I was going to be the white face of this big dentist company. And they shaved down my teeth and they put these temporary ones on. So before you get the real ones, while they're making the real ones, the hard ones, you get these like real soft ones that last only a week. And it was quite painful. I got 12 root canals. It was awful. And I'm in the back disassociating hardcore because I can't believe what's happening to me. And I'm biting my teeth. and one or two of the teeth fall out. I don't remember how many, and they fall into my hand. And I spit it out because I was so nervous. And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, methamphetamine." I'm like, shit. Like, I'm so screwed. What are the odds? I found out later there's a whole reason, right? But I get there and they knew the code of my apartment, put in the code of my apartment, raid my whole place. There's no drugs. They're getting really angry that nothing's happening. They're so pissed off that nothing's happening. They're threatening to kill my dog, my little Pomeranian there, right? They're trying to intimidate me, to get me to confess into something. And when I was talking about foreigner law and Korean law, there's no phone call and there's no lawyer. At least I didn't get one. That doesn't happen. And so the translator shows up and she says, "All right, they're going to take you to jail and they're probably just going to keep you there until you confess something. In my experience, you got to confess something or else you're going to be in jail until your court date, and that could be a year. And no one knows that you're here. And they'll probably just make sure that nobody ever knows that you're here, and that your dog will die. Your dog will die because who's going to come take care of your dog? No one's going to know you're in jail and you live with just you and your dog. So your dog's going to die and they're not going to tell anybody." And I got taken to jail. And then they put me in the back again, tied me up more in the rope, started pulling hair out of my head. And there was this googly-eyed guy in the corner of the police station that had these weird glasses on. He looked very distinct. I go in and I'm demanding a lawyer. They're making me pissed to take a drug test. They're watching me pee. It's really weird. They're asking me, what does marijuana feel like? Like, it's just, this whole thing is just really, really weird. And they were like, "All right, we got your lawyer for you." And it's the guy with the googly glasses. He just put on a normal tie and thing, and he shows up with this really shitty business card. And he goes, "I'm your lawyer." I'm like, come on, what is this horse and pony show? It was the worst thing ever. It was all just a joke. It was one big joke. And eventually they said, "We'll keep you in here and you're just here forever." The embassy finally shows up, U.S. Embassy. And they gave me a pamphlet. And on the pamphlet, while I was in jail, it had said, "Confess or you'll be here." That was a recommendation from the U.S. Embassy. Confess something. Do it. It's the only way, or else you're going to be here for a long time. And it's not legal advice, but we're just saying. And this is why you see in the news, people that get ex-Korean pop stars get, it's just a thing. Korean girl will say something, they'll get accused, false confession. Same in Japan, a lot of Asian countries, it's like 95% confession rate. They say, "Oh yeah, we always get them to confess." It's like, yeah, well, why do you think they always get them to confess, right? Like, it's such a horse and pony show. So I made up something. I was scared out of my mind. My teeth were falling out. I was in a lot of pain from that surgery still, and I was afraid my dog was going to die. So I said, I took drugs. You got me. I took drugs. I did. I took them. I don't deal them, but I took them. And they're like, "We knew it." And they're just so pissed now because I lied to them, right? They're so angry that they took my phone. They looked for 5 people. They asked me for 5 people to give up the names of the people I bought it from. I just gave them 5 names of random people I know were in Korea, but never going to ever go back. And they put a ban on my passport. They did let me go. They put a ban on my passport. They froze my assets. And I had to wait for 4 months. And eventually, 4 months later, I got a letter in the mail that says you're innocent, but basically get out of the country. And so I left, and I left everything. There's no comeback story over there anyways. Once you're done in Korea, that's why like K-pop stars will kill themselves once they get arrested or anything bad happens, is because they know it's all over. It's done. It's finished. And so my career was over. And I had to go back with no money, because it's all frozen, in a bank, with my dog, a suitcase, my entire career over. When my ego was the size of watermelon, and now suddenly all the models, all the money, all the everything, all the apartment, all of that, the TV shows, all that, the kids show, they had to kill off my character on the kids show. So they made a song that is Sometimes Friends Go Bye-Bye, and they had a life-size cutout of me. And then they just brought in a new actor, right? That's how you kill off a character on a kid's show. Life-size cutout, friends go bye-bye. You usher in new white guy, Mr. Right. Kids don't care. They're like, yeah, I do. So they killed off my character, which I was sad about. And I went through the worst depression because those teeth, eventually the hardcore teeth they put in, these are not them. These are organic now, all natural, but like are ceramic. Before, the ones they finally put in was just ruining me. Neurotoxic, driving me crazy. Just I couldn't get them out, and I didn't have $35,000 to fix my mouth. That's how much dentistry costs per crown, right? And so I suffered immensely for years. Back in Kentucky, no money. And I'll stop right there to see if you, because the spiritual part is about to happen. But I want to stop to see if you had any questions. I've been rambling.
I mean, it's a cultural thing. I mean, over 32 years dealing with the Chinese and Asian community, and most of my clients call me Guilo, if you know what that is.
Mm-mm.
It's like a Mandarin term for white spirit. It's like the N-word. Because a lot of you turn up as a Taoist priest, and they're like, I asked for a Taoist priest. What is this Guilo doing here? And 3 seconds later, they're like, holy crap, you are more in tune than... I get students from all over the world that have spent a lot of time in a lot of Taoist temples and that are natives to China. And they're like, how do you know more than any other teacher or priest that I've ever come across? Because I've done this 1,000 times already. This is my re-up in this lifetime. Is I may look like Brad Pitt, but in actuality, this is what I know. And so that cultural thing is not unusual. It's just is what it is. You play Russian roulette with a shotgun, basically living in these type of environments.
Very much. That's a good way of putting it. And you think it's not going to happen to you. It's just like everything else in life. That's something that happens to other people. That doesn't happen to me. You're exactly right. I'm sorry you went through that as well, but it's just one of those parts of life, right?
Well, it's not really. It doesn't. It's never bothered me. I mean, the blank check someone gives me for altering the feng shui in their $27 million house is fine enough. Kind of works out. It's like if it comes in the form of that, well, that's okay. I'm sure what to do with that.
I guess there's advantages and disadvantages, right? Yeah. And I there was advantages to me as well. Like, I mean, I was the white guy with zero talent. I mean, I worked on my talent eventually, had some talent, right? But like with zero talent, I had no reason to be dating the girls that I was dating, to be on TV, doing the things that I was doing, right? Which is why when I came back to America, I didn't just go right to LA. One, I didn't have any money when I came back, but two, I know how hard it is, and I know that's actually a talented town, right? Like I was zero shot. I'm not going to do that. Right. And I went to school. I went to grad school, and I studied mathematics. So I wasn't like a total dum-dum, even though I had a kid show. I knew I could do something. And then years go by, and I'm just struggling a lot in life. And I became an antinatalist. An antinatalist basically believes that you should not have life. Life sucks. Life is hard. Everyone dies, has anxiety and depression and all that. Why are you doing that by having a child? You're not having a child. You're having a 50-year-old divorcee. You're having an adult, right? That's how I felt. Because of all the things I was going through, I actually cursed at my parents. And I said, how dare you birth me into this bullshit? We were in poverty. How did you think this was going to happen? What did you think, right? My brother dies of an opiates. Okay. And then 4 or 5 years after I got back from Korea, I've had random odds and end jobs that are really just humbling me, but I'm just bitter. I'm not humble like in this enlightened way. I'm just bitter humbled. I'm only humbled because my face has been shoved into the dirt and I don't want it to be. And my sister dies of a heroin overdose. She had been struggling with heroin her whole adult life. And she was so close to getting over it. And then she dies of a heroin overdose. And I become so depressed because she was born on the same day as me, just 2 years apart. We had this thing. We weren't the tightest, but we had something. And I became so depressed. And it's such a common story in Kentucky that my friend says, you need to go on a spiritual journey. You got to figure you're going out of control. Come up here to Canada. Let's do this. Let's go on a psychedelic journey. And I did. So I flew to Canada. My friend ushers in a psychedelic experience in a safe setting, and I am in the spirit world. And I met my sister spirit as a spirit. I saw souls being planted on earth, right? And that feeling of that consciousness shift of like, holy shit, like, yeah, oh my God, this is the real thing. My spirit guide shows up. He removes the fear of hell from me. He's like, he removes the fear of hell from me. He goes, that's not real. And I'm like, whoa, but it makes sense up there. And it stayed with me. And I saw the souls being planted. And it was very obvious to me that this is a place where the most soul growth can happen. And how else is it going to happen? How else is this, unless you birth people, right? So I went like that, from being an anti-natalist to being like, oh, okay, that's why people have kids. Okay, it's okay to have kids. Like, how else is this going to happen, right? And it was the most beautiful experience up to that point in my entire life. I now have a reference point of what all those spiritual people were telling me about. There's finally this framework of not conceptual, but experiential, right? And it was like, whoa, that's what my life is meant. Holy shit. I come back down. And I asked him, I said, you're the most spiritual person I know. What do I do now? What do I do with that information? He has spent 5 years after his massive psychedelic awakening. He spent 5 years searching for the top, most enlightened, quote unquote, enlightened people on earth, trying all different kinds of people. And so I knew that he's already done the research and he's tried them all. Who do I go to? And who does he tell me to go to? To a previous guest on your show, Gareth. He tells me to go to Gareth. How do I go to Gareth? He says, you just do Zoom meditation with him. And this is where it all begins. Never meditate. I don't meditate. I don't do that. It was a waste of time to me. He says at the beginning of the meditation, online Zoom, totally silent, Gareth says, and Gareth is in Brahman consciousness, right? He went through some very difficult experiences, spiritual experiences, and hardcore dedication for a decade to get the Brahman consciousness. And he can transmit something called what he calls the Sat Force, which he went to pre-creation. He came back and he was shown that he could have the Sat Force that he can just put. He says it's like shaking hands with your soul. His soul and your soul come together. They shake hands, even though he didn't do anything himself. It's just, he's a channel. It goes in, and what that does is it wakes you up. It expands your consciousness at a rapid rate. Okay. I think it's total nonsense. There's no way that's real. All right. My friend's explaining to me, I'm like, Sat Force, get the hell out of here. So I do the meditation anyways, because I'm feeling all good from the spiritual journey with the psychedelics. Gareth says at the beginning of the meditation, guys, back then he only had like 40 people in the meditations. I'll spend about 1 to 2 minutes each on each of you. It's going to be silent. You'll know when I'm on you. Some of you are going to feel the energies. I'm like, whatever, dude. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. How am I going to know? About 45 minutes in, never meditated before. Don't meditate. My eyes are closed. And I feel this energy go up my spine, warp into my head, and divine light through my closed eye visual is blasting in. I'm 2.5 hours into this meditation, and an alien shows up. I'm shifting in consciousness, and this alien shows up. I guess it looked like the outline of an alien. It puts 3 fingers gently into my energy brain, heals it, it felt so benevolent. And I come out of that like, holy shit, because I'd asked for a sign. If I'm supposed to book this guy's retreat, he's got one more seat. What's the sign? Well, give me a sign, Gareth, right? And I was like, holy shit, that's a sign. I go to pull up my laptop, this very laptop that I'm on, and there's 3 alien fingerprints on my laptop that didn't go away for 8 hours. And I took a video of it. Like, it's holy shit, that is an actual sign. And are you familiar with Tom Campbell? I'm sure you are.
I just published my second 3-hour podcast with Tom. He's a dear friend of mine.
Oh, perfect. Yes. I love, he calls it the larger consciousness system.
Sure. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it, you know, and that's my favorite out of all the terminology. And he said that the larger consciousness system, maybe I wouldn't have gone to Gareth's retreat had I just had that alien thing. I'd be like, oh, that was, I don't know, I'm still not going to go all the way to Ireland. But because the larger consciousness system put 3 fingerprints on my laptop, that is what, knowing me, convinced me to go. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that. What would you say to that?
Well, it just varies. I mean, to what kind of gateway have you opened? You've opened something that's sort of like partially cracked open. It's not to the same potential as the psychedelic episode that you had that was far more expansive. Is it there? Yes. Is the potential there? Yes, but it's not replicating the same experience. You have a visual. And what substance were you using exactly?
Oh, glad we could talk about that on the show. It was MDMA and mushrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, these are incredible gateways, and I'm nor here or there when what we call within Taoism we activate the 3 treasures: pineal, pituitary, and thalamus, which is the chemical fun factory that activates limitless DMT. And so you can have like an out-of-body experience that is never-ending, like the one I'm having right now, where I see everything in colors, auras, numbers, whatever, spirits. They're all there. They're all present. They're all with my eyes open. And this is an access point. You switch it on. And once you switch it on, you cultivate this ability. Now, when I look at your auric field, the highest point is your upper dantian. That is still active, but it's presenting itself with an emanation of a color that is not a typical energetic profile for that particular center. So it's a sort of an auric fluorescent orange and in some cases gold-like substance, whereas the rest of your aura is the colors are diminished, getting down to the ground level sort of earth-like stuff. So you're presenting this higher state of awareness that you've activated, but there's still the fluidity between energy center 1 to 9, which is, for some people, they call it the transpersonal point. We just call it the dantian number 9, which dantian within Taoism just means energy field. So that is not presenting itself completely, yet it's still on. I mean, you can get high as a kite quite quickly into this state of this substance, but your energetic potential is being hindered by your lung channel. Your lung channel is sort of like weighed down, so it's not presenting itself at the highest level of the metallic metal element, which comes in the form of the emotional content and excess, which means you suppress things. It means that you are not sharing the true emotional content that you have within you, and that comes with a detachment of empathy, because emotions are very painful, and the feeling is painful. The feeling, and this is what is exciting for me, because when I say this, you have not exhibited your true potential for energy per se, because that field is the one channel that exhibits the subtleties and the potential of energy and feeling it to its maximum. you have not even come close to opening that gateway. And,
Interesting.
we haven't even got started on the information, but I can tell you, when you start regulating these things, all of a sudden, magical, supernatural, profound things are consistent with everything that you're sharing to this point, but on a level where you are the master, keeper, creator of your reality. You are able to regulate that potential. And so in some forms, it becomes subtle to someone who is attempting to open that gateway and maintain it. The biggest thing is you see these things within here, but they're not present with your eyes open. That's okay. That's where people start. You see what I'm saying? You got to start somewhere. This is a third eye projection. The energetic potential, though, has not even been close to met. Like, if you're talking about supernatural, profound things that are happening, which I can't wait to hear from, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. When we turn these things on, hit those switches, that charge you got at the back of your neck right now, that energetic potential, that expansion that I can see before I feel if I choose to, is what we're speaking of right now.
It's strong too. That charge in the back of my neck is strong.
Right. And people go, how the do you even? Well, I'm trained to see this stuff. I train other people to see this stuff. This is part of the mastery, and this is the present moment, my dear friends. And that's what this is all about. And that's where you get excited, because there are no coincidences while you're here today sharing with me, and I'm sharing with you, and we're having a kumbaya moment where it all just comes together, and it's all very real and very tangible. When you pull something out of what they call the paranormal, the intuitive state, that is nothing more than a contemplation or, a concept until otherwise noted, the energetic potential must be realized. And this is where there's a suppression within your energetic field that has not been realized. Even though profound things have happened to you thus far, you are still bound by fear. You're bound by fear to a significant degree. And that has a lot to do with that suppression of the pain and suffering that comes with your humanistic experience of life, the life of your some of your life experiences. And of course, you've heard this before, the emotional content, the suppression of it, the trauma, all these things. You've heard of these concepts before, and you've experienced them to a certain degree. But your potential hasn't even, you haven't even seen a molecule amount of your potential, because you're suppressing it on an unconscious level.
How can one go about unsuppressing it? There's many different ways.
Oh, there's many different ways, and that's what I'm here for. And so, you get all this stuff. It's like, my goodness, you are like, it's giddy. It's like a kid in a candy store. I understand that. That's my everyday. I wake up and go to sleep experiencing what I experienced 32 years ago. And I get excited as I did the first time I saw a physical healing, where I saw, gangrenous flesh turn back to pink in color in 40 minutes. And that person should have had their limb amputated. These are things that take place. This potential is there. You getting into the state, you're now already oscillating and glowing, and you're allowing yourself for the energy to flow. And now it's becoming more expansive. Now you're feeling that heat in your chest. You're feeling that expansion through your body. And you're allowing that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. We just got started.
Damn. I was not expecting this.
Wow. Hey, I'm a spring chicken, but I've been doing this for about 32 years, helping people find it. So it's all there. It's all within you, and you just need, what's most important is the method. The method is critical, and you must be able to repeat it, so it's not a psychotic state. It's real. It's real for you, and already your whole body is now feeling a charge that is expansive. Yet, 5 minutes ago, it was very contracted and it was very limited. And the most important thing is, the only thing that you have issue is in fear itself. You fear nothing but fear itself. It's nothing in of itself. And these sort of obstacles are just manufactured emotional content, which starts with your emotions don't control you, you control your emotions. People go, what? This is no. I've been told that I am completely subject to the narrative that, when depression comes over me, when anxiety and fear come over me, I must submit. I must bend at the knee. Absolutely not. You can and will, and I will show you how to move those things across the screen like icons on a computer. When you exhibit that, it will be dissolved, as it should be, because you are the master, keeper, creator of your reality, which comes back to your embodiment of that LCS that you love, baby. Oh, yeah, baby, we're right there. And that excitement, my goodness, my eyebrows are starting to percolate a little bit from the amount of heat that you're transmitting, because you're there.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's on.
Yeah. Holy shit. What's funny is I was actually doing a Zoom. Oh, hang on, the light. Oh, you can still see me. It's all right.
Yeah.
I was doing therapy right before this, and it was an online Zoom session, and we talked about the different things and the different fears that are in my system. And traditional psychotherapy can only take you so far, right? And I am very cognizant of the fears that are presented into my system, and actually know how it feels. And so I always wanted to, oh my God, there's so much energy inside of me, right?
This is where I go, you're welcome.
Yeah. My God, that's a big thank you. This feels incredible. I was trying to move it right before the therapy session. I was trying to move the dense package. I could feel it moving inside of my head. I could feel it. I was trying to move it and release it. I'm all about releasing, somatic releasing. And this is what I'm feeling now is what I was trying to do. This is what I was trying to do. I mean, there's so much coming off of my shoulder. Holy shit.
It's juice, baby. And as Yoda would say, there is no try, only do.
This is incredible. Wow.
And that's when you bring the resonance. You see, the resonance, I don't attribute myself to knowing anything. I know nothing. My teachers, on the other hand, Lutzu and another 171 teachers that I tap into at will for direct source information, is the now moment, the present moment, the charge, the now. And so the resonance is this now. You start to use the method, that charge, everything, the expanded man. You are not even the same. For all the OGs, all the students, you can see this and feel this. You are not even the same person. You are a contracted, very, very dull light that was trying to break through. And now you're opening yourself up to who you really are. Oh, yeah, baby.
I've had different moments similar to this before over the last year. That Gareth Zoom was a year ago. But this one's different, though.
Yeah. Oh, you're on your path, my friend. Because it's on like Donkey Kong now. And now you're going to get all the keys to the city to open everything and make it repeatable. This is not something that is it's never been a fleeting moment, but you need something materialized that can be validated by you.
Yeah.
It's self-evident and repeatable.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's what as a person that needs that repeatable, I need something to incorporate into my life, something that I can actually put in steps every single day to work towards. Otherwise, it's just, I guess, randomness, I guess.
Yeah, it becomes problematic because you fall into the human condition, which is what a psychologist would call the heteroaction. What you start, you must finish. And this space is so vague for many of these spiritual teachers, where it's I'm just going to call it what it is, gobbledygook. And so you get a taste of the spiritual dragon, yet they cannot help you repeat it.
Yeah.
It just becomes, wow, that's one for the books. Let me write this down. I can describe the whole thing, but I can't access it.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. 100%. And that's been a lot of my issue has been like, oh, only until I get to their stage and train the way they did am I able to do that. And I'm like, that can't be right. That can't be the only way.
No. What's most important is that you should be able to measure your own development on a daily basis. I don't submit or allow anyone that practices the methods I teach them to not be able to validate it for themselves on a daily basis. You need to be able to. It's like if you go and take yourself into a gym and you go and eat, healthy food, the result is evident. I lost 3 pounds. I gained a pound of muscle. I got stronger. I'm more. I have more endurance. These are also traits of the materialism that you present as this reality. So it's measured by time and space, time spent, attention spent. Once that is gone, it's a diminished return. This is not the same. When you talk about consciousness, it never leaves you. I have people that have been doing this stuff and repeating it for decades, and they're like, when I just got started, I thought the energy couldn't get any stronger, and it gets even stronger 20 years later. But you need to be able to repeat it. It's about healing. It's about manifestation. It's about magic. It's about the expansion of all these things. And they're all conceptual until otherwise noted. You know what you know. You don't know what you don't know.
That's exactly right.
And now it's about you applying a method, because this stuff never leaves you. You once you click the consciousness click, it's the only way is up, baby. And it gets bigger. It gets massive to a point where you think you're going to explode, and you've only seen 47 miracles in the last 48 hours. Don't worry. You're going to see another one and another one and another one. You're going to experience it as that present moment. And that means no place, no person, no thing. And this is part of the cultivational practice that comes with servitude. It comes with selflessness. And you're exhibiting all the traits of someone that is coming to that precipice of realization. And you've experienced that, and you've shared that through your own journey. And once you get there, a lot of my students are like, Jifu, but I just want to levitate. I want to do crazy stuff and burn things with my hands and do all this crazy healing and all. These are all side effects. They're all magical side effects where I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of it. What you do with it is you return to the center. And what happens is when you turn to the center, all that stuff is exciting, but you will constantly fall back into the selflessness that is the default of who you are.
Man.
And then everything else just happens to be the side effect. The $1 million in the bank account, a dream house, girlfriend, life, whatever. These are traits of serendipity, of synchronization. And guess what? The universe doesn't have a moral compass. So we're not going by, oh my goodness, can I have too much money? Can I have too much happiness? Can I have too much of a thing? Well, guess what? The mother, the Tao, the universe is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. So anyone that tries to tell you that it's subject to the dualism that is this 3D reality will be stuck in the mundane, will be stuck in the limitation of their experience, because that's how they perceive it. It's a polarizing effect of up and down, good and bad. You're looking for the center point. That's what we call the Wu Ji. And that center point is the flow, baby. Wu Wei. Effortless effort. And it goes beyond the rhetoric and the propagated nonsense that these manifesting teachers keep going on about today. Oh, you can't just think it, you have to do it. It must take action. Oh no, you're missing the point. The physical will limit you. You have to get deep within the center point of who you are. This is why within Taoism we talk about, let the man who's never left his village, let him know he's seen the world. Because you have it all inside you. And you are discovering that. You're expanding from that.
Wow. It's starting to make sense. It's the beginning. I feel it being the beginning. I do. I feel it. And I have for the, wow, that's my throat opening up. Yep. I felt it from the beginning that this was something new, that because I'd been all over the world. I'd done a lot of things. I was a news reporter. I'd been to 20 some plus countries. I'd been to all these places. I was in front of the camera. I was behind the camera. I'd seen it all. I not all, obviously, but like I've seen a lot. And none of that shit was making me happy. Not ultimately happy. And I still would fall into this baseline of materialism and I don't know, just not feeling.
Well, the materialism is the distraction. You can have, here's the part that people get deluded by. You can have your cake and eat it. I'm sorry. I hate to tell you. I hate to break it to you. Understand that if you attempt to erase your personality, you are making a mistake. What you have to identify is the mastery of being able to access this present moment. The present moment has no place, no person, no thing. It's the now. This is the Wu Ji. That doesn't come with whether you like, walks by the beach and meditating in the moonlight, and you eat chocolate bonbons. Me personally, I like driving my side by side 100 miles an hour in the desert. I eat chocolate ice cream, and I love Netflix on a Saturday night. That has nothing to do with the now moment. And so when you start to understand this, methods are critical to being able to sustain the resonance that is self-realized. And that's that present moment. And then all of a sudden, manifestation, magic, healing is instant. and the side effect of that is you become the catalyst and conduit for that.
This is leading into when you talked about the amount or the resonance. One of the things that I'm going to get into, I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are on this too, because there was a moment, and I actually, you know what, I'll just fast forward to that moment. So I went to that retreat, meditated for 7 days next to that guy and this other girl named Eva, and all these other people that are really kind of like you, right? But not all of them. Some of them are new. I was definitely the newest person, didn't know anything. My Kundalini got awoke while I was there, full-blown Kundalini awakening from a Kundalini awakening process, not by Gareth, by somebody else that was there. And so I went from never meditating to like within a few weeks, I'm at a retreat, meditating silently for 7 days next to a guy submitting the sap force inside of me, a very, very powerful force, next to all these other energy healers that are blasting me as well at this collective meditation. And my Kundalini, full-blown Kundalini awakening erupts inside of me. Talk about a hell of a spiritual 7 days, right? And I'm just amazed at the number of X-Men people like yourself. I call them X-Men people. It's like the things that they can do. It feels like I'm in the presence of an X-Man. Okay. I'm like, that's an X-Man. Like Eva was at the retreat and she was trained by Gareth and she went and visited Mother Mira and she passed the transformative technique, the TT technique, to remove all of her samskaras, just like Gareth did, to emerge as they are now, Brahman consciousness. And she was able to tell me different points in my life just by looking at me. This happened at this stage in your life. This happened. This fear developed here. And I'm like, what the fuck? How was this even possible? Like, my mind is starting to expand and I'm like, what else is going on? And so the possibilities are just opening up left and right. And I leave and I come back to Denver. My Kundalini is just ravaging me left and right. And I was like, is this Gareth's energy or is this Kundalini? I don't know what's going on. And I sit down and the energy is so strong. I said, I can't do this job anymore. I was working a different job. I can't even control myself. I got to go on like a medical leave. This is so intense. Like I can't do anything. And, you know, I borderline Kundalini psychosis one time because I was blasting myself with all these transmissions online that my friend told me about. And I'm just doing 5 a day. It's just high level stuff pummeling me all the time. Cause I was like, well, it's divine light. It can't be bad for me. Right. And I'm pummeled left and right. And eventually I get to this point where I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on, but I have to sit down. I just got to meditate. I'm meditating for hours a day now, and it's my favorite thing to do. And in this particular moment, this is 6 weeks after the retreat, I sit down and I just get I have a thought I've never had before. And that thought was, everything is just energy. I never had that thought before. Something about that mantra pulled me into a place I'd never been before. The ego slithered down. I felt it melting, and coming forward was the true self slithered forward. And I didn't know it at the time, but later I found out that was a samadhi experience, that I was a single point of awareness. All of life made sense. And I was thinking, I beat the game of life. I understand life. Oh my God. And it was like this facepalm moment too. Like, how did I ever fall for that illusion? And it was just like, oh, I get it now. 100% supreme understanding. I got all of it. Every single moment in my life made sense. There's a reason why you got that surgery at the same time that the police were going to think that you're a drug dealer because of that, right? That wasn't a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that you get the kid show, that you lasted long enough just to have a kid show. It's going to help a lot of people. There's a reason why all these different things happen. There's a reason why your sister died of a heroin overdose. Like, it all just made sense. It just pummeled me, and life made sense. Like, oh my God, that's what life is. And now it's all leading up. And this is what I wanted to ask you about. Was I thought, I'm going to be here forever. And I'm like rejoicing, like, oh my God, I did it. And then it slithered away after about an hour. It went away. And I wasn't upset or angry. I was like, oh, hey, what WTF? Like, what? And why was it an hour? Like, why did it only last an hour?
The biggest issue is you're in fear of lack of. You're gonna lose it. Your fear consumed the elated state, the high frequency. It's never left you. Yet you're afraid that it's not going to come back. It's not going to be maintained. I remember distinctly when I first saw a healing, the first thing that you have, you have to surrender to the fact that you are all things and nothing at the same time. So the fear is, well, I want this so bad that you can't grab it, you can't hold it, you can't maintain it. And that has to do with the, energetic architecture. And so with your method right now, sustaining and holding that line is to still be presented to you in a method. It's not being held. It's not being maintained. It's not that awareness that you speak of is something that you can hold on to as long as you want. There's no such thing as the honeymoon is over. That is coming from a very in lack of perception, which is a humanistic perception. It's not real. It's delusion. The truth is that everything is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. So if you're a fan of Tom Campbell, he will say, consciousness is aware you have choices. At that very moment, for a Taoist seeker, when you're at your lowest, you're at your highest. But it can't be a deluded state where you're attempting to tell yourself what you want to hear. You're looking in the mirror like De Niro. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? You can't just say it. You have to believe it. And so this subsection, which is sort of the construct between conscious and unconscious process, can be completely dissolved, and you can meet that conscious 100% state at will all day, every day. It's just a method. It's a method of cultivation that you hold that resonance and you maintain it. And to do that is finding the right cultivational practice. And there are no coincidences that you happen to be here right now. And when you understand how simplistic it is and how you apply it, your 2 hours can turn into 1 minute, 30 seconds. And the magnitude of that transmission and that ability to access it is so palpable. The substance is so palpable. Some people call it plasma. Some people call it chi. Some people call it God. But you'll know exactly when, where, and how your transmission through your attunement is realized in this 3D reality. Because a lot of people tend to dismiss the ability of miracles and supernatural activity in this state because it's slower. Over there in my mind, when I'm out there in the field of possibilities, everything happens instantly. Well, from what I see, it's a fragment of your mind. It has not been realized as consciousness. You're still in the mind. You're still in the psyche. Consciousness is when you can manifest this here, now. So we're talking about, I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anyone on this bad boy. Show me what the potential is. And that comes in all forms. Manifestation, magic, healing, right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. And how is that potential realized? It comes from a method. And so transmitting stuff is sort of a very vague way to stay obscurely absent of knowing.
Yeah.
Right. So you've had many profound paranormal experiences, yet you need to now start solidifying and fortifying your own knowing through a repeatable method. This is a very important thing that you need to nourish. You need to know. There are no coincidences that we're having this conversation.
Tell me what method do you think is best?
Well, it varies. It depends on what you're resonating with. When you first started this conversation with me today, you had your own version or position on what that was. Me, I spent 30 years teaching people internal alchemy. I know what methods work and how fast they work. And for anyone that puts their time and attention to that very practices, the truth is you can realize it instantaneously, but it leaves you to that point. Energetic potential, I mean, I could poke a stick right now at dozens of people that come to me with Kundalini awakenings. It's what they can do with that. They're still in question. When you're a Taoist seeker, it comes in this form. Starts with the physical, energetic, spiritual body, sun body, earth body, moon body. Finally, the oneness, the ultimate, and then being one with all things. That charge you got is a validation of what you know to be true. That charge you got is the validation of, holy shit, whatever he's saying, I know this is the truth. Because you must have a progression that you can fortify, that you can step away from as the first person, third person, no person, and it is repeatable. Or it's nothing more than a fleeting moment, a snippet from a Hollywood movie, a great story you can tell yourself for the next 50 years or 100, depending upon where you're at. Or you can master something, which is mastering yourself, returning to the center point, remembering who you are, and then all of a sudden the servitude, the selflessness becomes realized. And these are methods. That's why alchemy, yes, I'm a fanboy, I'm a Taoist priest. Alchemy for Taoism is second to none. That's why everyone gravitates to it. Through the history of the Chinese landscape, every emperor has had a Taoist alchemist. And they're the first one to get executed because guess what? They can make the stars and moon move. The constellations oscillate on planet Earth because that's what we use as a mirroring effect of what it is. And an incantation from the Jade Emperor is quite clear. A power abundant in its giving you will receive. Unifying the body with the spirit with the energy. Bringing heaven to earth. Transcending all is one, one is all. Revealing perfection manifest. That is your gift. That is your offering. That is your gift. That is your offering. That is your gift. That is your offering. That charge up your spine that we call the Tai Chi pole, that oscillating effect, that chill, that expansion is the very evidence that you need to know where you need to be. And so all bets are off. All the propagated nonsense of words and stories, and your validation is the now. Your validation is that knowing. And so for methods wise, I'm very familiar with what methods are necessary to enhance your sensory perception, and I teach it. And that's something that if you feel gravitated to, that will be something that you will expand on and inquire for the very method that takes. And it's not something that you should suffer from for years, as you put it, in a mountain, sitting in a lotus position, singing Kumbaya, waiting for your guides to transcend. It's now. And it must be in that potential must be realized. It's all energy. Everything's energy. As you came to that realization, as you had that moment of all things, you realize everything's energy.
Yeah.
And it comes in a thought, feeling, and emotion, which is the secret source of your very experience. That's it. Beginning and end. It ends and begins there. And that is a reflection of everything. And so when I say the gift is your offering within that incantation, that is. So your servitude, your selflessness, serving others is really serving yourself. And then all of a sudden people are right into realizing that selflessness is really serving yourself, raising the higher frequency of humanity, because you are an ambassador of this very planet. You're here for a reason. And that alchemy, that magic that you bring within this state, is to raise other people's consciousness, is to be the spiritual leader that you are. From that, you must master these very detailed energetic profiles that you have the ability to do. As long as you're a human being, you have 5 senses. There's not a single person on planet Earth that I cannot expose to this transmission, cultivation, and it be realized. Now, I haven't applied it to aliens. I'm going to be honest. I don't know whether aliens would actually, yeah, of course they would. It's a nervous system thing. But in reality, you can't just speak on it. You have to know it. And that's that feeling that you get. And that's why you've been so excited about your path. You keep getting these moments. First, it starts with experiencing the psychedelics that transmute into repeatable experiences that have no evidence of that, yet it's a chemical response that you're having inside this fun factory, which is the barometer, the tuning fork of your reality. It's registering everything you're experiencing.
Wow. That explains that explains why I've been so excited about all this.
Well, of course. And your excitement will only get greater because guess what? Every magical event is going to turn into another one, into another one, into another one. It's about holding the line. When we speak about that resonance, it's about holding it, because you're grasping things that you cannot hold. You cannot maintain that resonance within this physical container. That's when people either go in the opposite direction and stay in the mundane, the material, or they expand, or the other alternative is imminent mortality. And that only comes in decisions that were not of the highest state of consciousness. And you've exhibited that, you've shared that with the unfortunate death of your brother and sister. These are limits. You are still here. You're here for a reason. no matter how many times the shadowing effect of depression resides and reveals itself. This is the stuff that makes you whole. This is the stuff that makes you sing. This is the stuff that makes you expand. And so that is more overpowering than any substance, any mindset that might be constructed as an emotional state. And that's why you're here. And that's that intuitive knowing.
Wow. There really is no coincidences.
No, none whatsoever.
Wow. Because it happened. That's so powerful. It happened again. It happened. It makes so, oh my God. It happened. It was about maybe 3 months ago. I was meditating and the Kundalini energies were strong and they kind of took over me again. But this time I was about 4 hours in and the illusion of separation had disappeared. It had started to melt away. The way I described it was, it's kind of like if you're a fingernail on a hand and you think you're the fingernail and you're like, this hand is always moving me. I hate it so much. What are these other fingernails? What's the point? What is all this? And then you zoom out and like, no, it was the body. I'm not separate from my fingernail. My fingernail is part of me. Or another analogy would be the leaf on the tree. The leaf thinks it's separate from the tree, and then you zoom out and you realize that actually is the tree, right? And I had that feeling of this unity consciousness for like 30 minutes where I felt the illusion of separation disappear, right? I was the baby that was crying outside, and I felt this really strong pull. And again, it didn't last very long, but it was there. And so these mystical experiences are, I often wondered why it's an extreme amount to be crammed into a very short period of time, right? And my ego wants to think like, why me? With other people take the slower path, or things happen slowly, or they train, or whatever it may be. Such an insane amount of mystical experiences have happened to me in a very short period of time that my ego is making up stories about why that is, right? And I don't even want to pretend like I know why that is, right? But what you're saying is I don't even know. I'm curious to ask you what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I've had many students before. They're like spiritual Pac-Man. You just can't get enough. It's like, I know it. I absorb energy like, plutonium dump site. Now, understanding the potential and now utilizing it. So what the key is, right? So you have now identified the potential. But I can ask you right now, how do you feel at the end of your day? And you will still consider yourself limited. You will feel mentally, emotionally, physically tired.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that comes from not being able to integrate what we call within Taoism. When you are conceived and born into this reality, you have the physical body. The physical body has what I use as an analogy. You're a battery. Your battery comes in, your hereditary disposition, your lineage, your ancestors are giving you this gene expression that would come in the form of potential. Out of 100%, you're being given, I've never seen anything lower than 40%, but some people come in around mostly about 70 or 80. So what happens, the allure of Taoist alchemy is you take the battery that's 80% and we bump it up to 100. From 100, we take it to 1,000. From 1,000, we take it to 9,000. You get the gist of things. And what happens is, once this is realized, the constitution is fortified, you now nurture the relationship with the mother, because the truth is, you expend your essence, your life force, your jing, every day by your attention intention. And until you're able to maestro the 50 trillion cells that is your physical body, you will be subject to that limitation. When that is met, when that is fortified, you tap into the mother. You are endless. You are never tired. You are never limited. You are abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. This whole idea that people give you sexual practice, abstain from sex, it's all nonsense. It's all a limitation of the mind. You're given this physical body. If you nurture it, the Taoist seeker will immortalize this physical flesh and extend it to life levels that people have never seen before. The average lifespan of an individual that acquires this state is 120 plus at least. Even now, today, through the reflection of epigenetics, you can easily understand that switching on and off your gene expression through the understanding of your environment, i.e., your mind can turn your genes on and off. You have at least the potential of 120 years. That's the baseline. That's with all the understanding that the science community has within the gene expression, let alone someone who taps into the mother. Now you want to saturate those cells. You want to maestro that energy. You want to be able to move the electromagnetic potential. And this is not just a circus trick so you can do things like shock people with electric shocks and levitate and transmit heat and energy. These are all side effects, and I don't dismiss them. I enjoy teaching them. I enjoy you encapsulating that stuff. But the key is to realize that selflessness will give you everything. You will return to that true state of all things. That moment that you had, that you were more than just the body, you are everything. You are all things at once and nothing at the same time. And that is the present moment. And it's conceptual for most people. That's why the energetic potential is so critical. The cultivational practice is so critical. And once you get that handled, all bets are off. All bets are off. And so the transmissions that you've been experiencing, that you've been embodying, that you've had moments of your own sharing with others and others sharing with you, will become a mastered, repeatable experience, as it should be, because it's not some mystical, fleeting moment. You are here to help and heal others at the highest level. You are here as a spiritual leader. You know this. But the humility of this is to say, I'm not really sure. I have no idea what's going on. You're getting a clear message of this. You're hearing this. The fear or the distortion of emotional content and downgrading your potential is the very distraction that will limit you. The truth is there is no such thing as humility. Guess what? You're all things and nothing at the same time. For you to attempt to be humble, for what reason? That you know who you are? Please. Oh, yeah. You understand now what I'm talking about.
Fuck.
Yeah. Free flow, baby.
That's been on my mind for so long.
Right. And that percolating resonance that's going through your body, it's like an engine starting to rev up. That juice, that energy is the now.
This is the now.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
What does Maui say? You're welcome.
Wow. I had no idea this is where the conversation was going to go. This is incredible. I have been thinking about it. The only time I find myself in flow, the only time I find myself really is when I have these spiritual conversations, and is when I do the things that talking to the people that are also at the highest level, right? Because let's be honest, there are levels to this game, right? Like, and it's not a condescending thing; it just is. And I had only wanted to talk to people that were at the highest level, and I resonate with them so much. And I have been struggling with trying to come to terms with it, right? Like, and who am I in this field? Why did all of these things happen so quickly to me? And part of me was thinking exactly that is what you just said to me just now. But then all the mind comes in, and the mind says, well, you can't do that because X, Y, Z, right? You can't because of this and because of that. You can't do that. You can, but, and there's 20 buts.
Well, this is where we have to really hone your skills and master that dukkha, that distortion, because that's the very evidence of where you are. You're at such a high point that all distractions will attempt to diminish your resonance. And there's nothing stopping you right now, my dear friend.
Oh.
And as I put it many times before, we have just got started.
I cannot tell you how good this feels.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I'm experiencing it and seeing it at the same time. And that feeling of that heart, that opening of your heart right now is like, yeah, baby, right there. That is undeniable.
Holy shit.
And the exciting part is I wasn't really expecting anything. Yes, that's right. You're just going to have a conversation and share with others your own experience. And now you just leveled up your consciousness click, dialed it up, my dear friend.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. It's the fact that you can, oh, yeah. The fact this is happening.
A lot of people go, well, you can see all this. Yes, I'm the Jifu. I'm here to share you and remind you who you really are. You are me, I am you. Don't forget that. And so all that does is bring you back to the truth, your truth. And the energetic potential doesn't just end, because that again becomes problematic. Getting experiences over and over again with no direction or method is, it's like drinking a cup of coffee, eating an ice cream, taking some LSD. It doesn't go anywhere.
It's external. It's something external that happened that I have no control of unless I sit down and ask for that control to come inwards from the outside. Yeah. One thing I realized during that Samadhi experience was that it was this revelation that this has always been there. It was more like a removal than it was something that came. It was more like things were removed, and that's always been there. That was always there. And there was a remembering, this ancient remembering of, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but you already know what I'm saying. And I'm sure a lot of your audience knows, like, there's this remembering that is it. you just
Some
forgot
of,
for a while.
some of the obstruction that presents itself is the very energy that consumed some of your family members. And this is something that you need to be identifying and healing from appropriately, because this is very, very, very real. But you know this.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah,
good thing is,
Mm.
I have no problems showing you how to do that.
This is incredible. But my lineage was, I don't know why I was born into the family that I was, but my lineage is alcoholics, factory workers, low vibration, and just angry people. I looked at all of the lineage, and it was just not happy people, lots of family problems. And my current family is not perfect either. And, and I wondered why. Why? Was that some next level challenge that my soul embarked on?
Well, you get deeper into revealing, always remembering that when you return. So the more adversity, that's why you hit the ground running to such a degree. The adversity and the expansion was so dramatic. And I came from a very similar situation as a young boy. And it just turns on like a light switch. And it's understanding the most important thing is we need to dial in your communication with the information and really identify where it's coming from so that it's repeatable, not just the energetic potential, not just being a conduit for healing or magic, but being very clear on your communication so that it's second to none. And channeling is the highest form of that from a Taoist seeker's perspective, and it should be for anybody, quite frankly. And you need to have a knowing, not this doubt that comes in. So you're getting the energetic potential, you're getting the supernatural, but you're also being bombarded with this, intellect, yeah. Which comes from emotional contact that makes you think. So then you get completely distorted. And 30 years ago, when someone would come to me with what they were diagnosed as a psychotic episode, I would exhume and remove the energy, and it would look like something out of a Hollywood movie, and it's gone. But now people tend to hold on to that. They think of it as just a subsection of their mind. No, it's an energy that doesn't need to be there. You need to understand that. So when it struggles with your thoughts, your process, i.e. the great one, oppression, depression, possession, this is a big one. And whatever potential it is that has directed you throughout your life has always outweighed that ominous energy of depression. And so now it's time to evict that permanently within this incarnation.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. That was why I was meditating right before therapy today. Was I had this thought, God, it's no coincidence we're talking about this right now. This is an energy that could be released.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be here.
No.
And it's become so much a part of my identity, right? Through experiences and whatever label you want to give it. And yet it suddenly had this thought and this feeling, no, this doesn't have to be here. This can be released. It just felt like it could be released. And I kind of slowly felt it a little bit releasing right before, right? And now you're coming on to tell me that's absolutely true.
100%.
Wow. Yeah. Hell yeah.
You haven't seen anything yet. You've just got started. And I'm excited for you because this is where you need to be. This is where you need to acquire that knowing and return to who you are. And it comes with being very familiar with. I get a lot of people that, I'm channeling this, I'm doing that. I'm like, okay, this is how it works. If you cannot identify it yourself and you don't have a substance that you can validate for yourself, not me, my truth doesn't matter. John Smith's truth doesn't matter. Garrett's truth doesn't matter. It's only your truth. And so until you validate that, until that is a certainty, it's problematic. So a lot of channelers, they tell me, I feel energy. I don't need a method. I do this. I channel my Palladians. I do whatever. I'm like, okay. So imagine this. You are playing with an energy. So let's just turn the lights out. I hand you a pile of something and you stop playing with it. I turn the lights on. You thought it was Play-Doh. It's actually dog shit. And this is what happens with people because the fundamental human condition is the struggle because of the emotional content. This must be cleared up immediately. This, what do you call it? A seesaw effect that you're having does not have to continue. The pain and suffering does not have to continue. It will not continue. The resonance that you are accessing and you are starting to be familiar with is now going to be cultivated, and it will dissolve all existing traits of this type of energy, because that is what's holding back your potential. Does this make sense?
Man, does it ever? Wow. What a great thing to hear and feel. I can actually feel it blasting in my head right now, in my third eye, rising up from my crown.
You're more expansive now than you were an hour and a half ago. My goodness, you're not even the same plane.
Wow.
It's like a faucet of energy. Woo!
This is a lot. This is a great conversation. Wow. This is incredible. I don't even know what to say.
Well, that's the whole point of you had intuitively drawn yourself to this present moment for a reason. Listen to everything. You had a path, you moved on it, and now you're where you need to be realized.
What are your thoughts? Oh my God, there's so much energy. Wow.
Yeah. I feel like
it's only getting stronger. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I got to stop sometimes to make a comment because I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
wow. With the Kundalini, I will admit it has it's been rough. It's been I don't like the word punishing, but it has been very difficult for me. It has been a very difficult experience. And it did calm down the last 2 weeks, but for a while it was non-functional. I'd become non-functional sometimes.
Yeah, it presents physical traits. If you were to have zero understanding of what you're experiencing, you would be on WebMD and say, I'm having a stroke, I'm having a heart attack, do I have diabetes? What kind of illness is being presented through the physicality? And so when you understand that, all bets are off. So initially, that dense feeling that you get, that heaviness in your chest, is nothing more than gorging blood, excess nitric oxide. These potentials are all being oxytocin. These potentials are all being realized. They're not being diminished in the sense that you're going to have some mortal fatality. You are exhibiting the potential of that energetic profile. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see.
On a torturing level, no. I'm having all these physical side effects that I understand. I'm experiencing the Kundalini awakening. Yeah, wow. you're having a moment very similar to mine that happened 30 years ago, where they would identify it as the dark night of the soul, right? Only it continued. From me, I had equivalent to 9 lifetimes of a dark night of the soul in 5 days. I had every thought, feeling, and emotion. And by day 3, I was like, I just need to kill myself. That's the answer. I mean, I would literally attempt to distract myself, and I would walk into a movie theater thinking that I need something. This is people sign up for this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be like something as benign as a naked woman walking across the screen, and I would literally throw up in front of the person in front of me.
Mm.
These are the visceral things that take place. They have all this evidence of what we call the purge, what we call the breaking, what we call the awakening, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be able to regulate it. What you're finding the deficiency of is stuffing some of this stuff back down, which is not, it's not potential. It just starts to revisit itself. And this is not what we're interested in doing. This is not part of your journey. This is not, I want this energy that is presenting itself to attempt to diminish your potential. It needs to understand this very clearly. Its duration of time is going to be limited. Its ability to commandeer your very thoughts and feelings is limited. It will eventually be exhumed and exercised and no longer return. And that can happen very quickly. And so just by me saying that, you can feel the evidence of how that changes viscerally, because there's that potential that wants to control you. You are, like I said to you, you believe you're at your lowest, but you're really at your highest. It cannot, it will not. It's like a diminishing sort of like attempt at the last shot at distracting you from your true knowing of who you are.
Holy shit, that's what's been going on.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the fundamentals of that construct can present itself from past lives, but the most important component that you need to identify with is that the human construct, you look at you say your lineage, you identify as these sort of like limiting humanistic expressions, the typical traits of obsessive compulsive behavior, which comes in the form of human addiction. This is just nothing more than an attempt to stop your own spiritual growth, your own remembrance. This happens. Everyone has it. There's not one single person that is not is subject to that potential. You have been able to maintain and rise above it enough that its potential will diminish. The purpose of your being here is to be the spiritual leader that you know you are. And humility and all this nonsense that you've been playing and trying to pepper it with, because that's the spiritual playbook, is just nonsense. You need to remember and know who you are. And from that, you don't have to play this moral compass. You just need to be, and you need to expand. And to that, you will cultivate and realize that, and not just help yourself, but help others, which is in turn the same thing. And it won't be just in the thousands, it will be in the millions. As it should be, you will raise that conscious collective and return humanity to a state of love. And so you always get a distraction. You got to remember, re-ups are always these finite seesaws between positive and negative dualistic perception. That's how the human comes in. You are now putting together these pieces and starting to realize, like, I've been lied to.
Yeah.
Because you were listening. But your ear is so big now that the coincidences are adding up at a rapid rate that is undeniable
Yeah.
with the energetic potential. It's undeniable.
Right.
Floodgates, baby.
Holy shit. Nothing has ever made more sense in my entire life. It felt more right.
It all comes back to the feeling.
Wow. And if it's meant to be, the universe will find a way for that to happen. Wow.
Well, that's kind of a throwaway spiritual deal. It's not the universe if it's meant to be. You know it is. It's not maybe considering. You know it is. So now you need to be present. You need to accept and allow and expand this very moment. And you move into it. You expand, you don't contract. You don't move away, you move in. That's where the fearlessness comes in.
Oh, I see. Oh. I can't believe this is happening in front of an audience right now. Holy shit, this is... Oh my God.
As I would always say, you're welcome.
Thank you, really. Like, this is... My God. This is incredible.
We have just begun, my dear friend.
I can't wait to see where this goes. This is genuinely the best that I've felt. Wow.
Well, it gets to a certain point, and you must identify with this. So you've had all these experiences, the energetic potential, but you need to understand when you're sort of teeter-tottering between intellect and intuitive, when you use certain things like therapists and psychologists and things of that nature, you will continue to present the mind prison. It's just part of the construct. You knowing yourself is here. No one else knows you better than you. And the most important thing is to be able to identify a clear path of information. And there's a lot of you've been searching for a validation in all forms. And it still hasn't been clear enough until this very moment.
I love... Truer words were never spoken. My God. It's like I knew, you know? It's like I knew. Wow. This is so cool. This is so validating. It's also so expansive. You know what else just kind of... I always wondered why some of these higher level people that I met at Garrett's retreat, right, the X-Men, as I mentioned before, right, why they always were okay with me. You know, they would help me. They would give me extra time. They would give me their attention. They would help me, right? And I always wondered, like, they see something I'm not seeing. Like, what? Why? Like, I'm the new guy, right? And there's other new people, and they must see something I don't see. Maybe. And yeah.
Well, the most important thing is identifying this stuff is good and well. It's mastering the cultivation that makes it true. And that's what I'm excited for you for. That's the only reason we're having a conversation today. Is because you've gone enough, you've had enough soul searching and experiential moments of wonderment. And I've had this kind of linear, I got this story, I got that story, I got this story, I got that story. That's great. They're stories. And they can remain stories for the rest of your natural born life until they're materialized into a method of mastery that can be repeatable and that you can share with others. And that is the key.
I can't wait. Part of me was afraid that it was just going to be stories for the rest of my life, to be honest. I was like,
well, because you have these moments where you dip in and out of it, and you can, as you put it through your own admission, I get into meditation and I have these incredible experiences and I've got this energy and I feel this, but okay. Now what?
Exactly. Now
you can be one of those all-time favorite internet superstars of near-death experiences. That there's millions of them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for most of them, it stays trapped in this story. And it gets to a point where you hear the story over and over again. And for me, I enjoy talking to people. You're here not because of Gareth, not because of an invite or of having a conversation here. You're here for a reason. My teachers have told me to teach you the very methods that are necessary for you to realize who you are, that are repeatable. And that's that thick, heavy, weighted chest feeling that you're having right now because it's real. And that is because you know this and I know this. Now, I don't get caught up in the semantics of my personality. I think you're a great guy, but this goes way beyond that. I don't get to pick and choose who those people are. I get, if I had to give you a penny for every time I get someone asking to get involved in training or cultivation, my goodness, I'll be a very rich man. It's what they want to do with the potential of where that person is. And that's the key. Because this reincarnation could very well be short-ended like your brother and sister. But that's not what you're here for.
Oh. So you're telling me that you knew before I came on, you were told to help me with my cultivation. Were you surprised when I reached out? Because were you?
No, not really. I mean, they fill me in on information all the time. I mean, once you start to see how deep this is, your head's going to blow off. That's what this is all about, my dear friend.
Oh my God. Wow.
Can't wait to share this with Gareth, right?
I cannot wait. Gareth is gonna. Has this ever happened on any of your?
Not to this degree. I don't normally have conversation. This type of like expansive, visceral experience that you and I are having is not normally for public consumption.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be if you choose not to.
No, I want it to be. I absolutely want it to be. I think that it's part of it now, isn't it? It's part of it.
Yeah.
Wow. How does this look? How does this even? What does this even look? Oh my God. Okay. I guess we'll find out.
We'll get you all set up and ready to fire yourself off into another dimension permanently.
It's so funny this is happening because literally, there's no coincidence. God, just 2 days ago, this woman who I met, another high-level woman, very X-Men, I'm on the X-Men people. She was the first person to ground me over the phone. I had so much Kundalini energy. I just found her from a friend of a friend. She grounds me over the phone, and energies drop, and I feel it, and she goes, there you go, right? And that was the first time I experienced like somebody from afar can do amazing things, okay? And then she calls me up 2 days ago, and she says, I'm going to be near your area, near Serpent's Mound, where I'm going to be doing something I'm going to be healing some of the spiritual earth there. I was told, and I feel like you're ready now to be a part of this ceremony. And it's a private ceremony of just her and one other woman, and that's what they do. And she said, you're ready now, and would you like to come? And it was the most instant yes that I've ever given, right? And then this interview is happening 2 days later. Wow.
I guess you could call it an interview or maybe a level.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I guess
I'd call it a level up.
Conversation. Yeah, this. Not interview. This
level up. You're just dialed the consciousness up to 2-3 notches right here. And by the way, it doesn't come down, just so you know.
Thank the good Lord.
What's most important is that trace element of that other energy will continue to diminish. But if it presents itself, I'll show you exactly how to decimate.
This is so great. Wow, this is the beginning of the beginning.
The beginning of the beginning.
Beginning of the beginning.
Yeah, Gareth will be like, there are no coincidences. Yeah. He and I really get along. We're like brothers from another mother. It didn't take long to attune to that. But that's what this is all about.
I felt the same. His story, when I read it in his book, the very first sentence is it says, some people will get a transmission just from the book, okay? And even though back then I was like, whatever, dude. Okay, come on. Like, you're supposed to not have an ego. Talk about stroking your ego, right? But I was so drawn to that book, his story, like, and just so many similarities in his life and mine. And then when the alien fingerprint shows up, I told the story for the very first time on his podcast, and he says, and I said, Gareth, what was that? And he said, as Tom Campbell says, the larger consciousness system, put it down there, right? And it's because, it found you useful. It finds you useful. And he didn't mean that in a way, as I'm sure it can be mistranslated as like, you're a useful person, let's go to work now. Although it felt like it's time to wake up. It was like, there is a use actually, and you need to get to that retreat, and then it's all going to make sense. And my Samadhi experience kind of showed me the same thing. And yes, this all is starting to, wow. I can't believe this is happening live in front of people. And I don't even know how your audience is going to react to it. I hope they get something out of this,
well,
right?
Of course they do. They all my students, all my subscribers, all the 126ers, they get it. They get it because they're experiencing. It's an experience. I'm a show me guy. I will always shit or get off the pot. It's just enough of the empty words and story after story. It's kind of like I got to a point where I just made it a policy not to take NDEs because it's like the fallen track star who was the prom king who spent his life talking about the good old days. Mm-hmm. It becomes, yes, it's a validation for someone else to go, oh my goodness, there's something greater out there. Yet they've lost it. If you listen to a lot of NDEs, they've lost the magic. They've lost it. They've just had a glimpse. They've had a taste. They're back to the mundane. They just want to fantasize about replicating that moment, yet they don't know how to do it.
Mm.
And so it's just another story. I mean, okay, cool. And in lots of cases, most of them are not even into an energetic practices or have energetic potential. So it's just one moment. And they realized, oh my goodness, this is the hottest thing on YouTube. Boom. And, I mean, we could go on all day with NDE experiences. But, realizing your potential now, not, when it's the wet ass moment, like, you get someone like Steve Jobs, who his last words were, oh my goodness, it's so much brighter. Mm-hmm. Now, personally, I spent many decades, as I mentioned to you about, or maybe I didn't, maybe it was another. I've done so many podcasts today. I think I've done like 4 or 5 already. Yes, 4 or 5 podcasts before this one. But I spent a lot of time entertaining very affluent individuals with blank checks because it just is what it is. So throughout the peninsula of the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, I've come across many people, including the late and great whoever we just mentioned 5 minutes ago. And personality-wise, that individual was very deficient and not a very great innovator, quite frankly. And due to that, it diminished his potential and ultimately took his life. And there's many different variables for that. But you get to a point where you need to understand, what do I do with this? Right now, you're just going, I'm having all these Kundalini experiences. There's something supernatural. Now it needs to be mastered and put in a method that you can repeat it. So there's sense to that. The sense is the selflessness, the servitude. And even though that sounds beyond what you're comprehending right now, when you click with that and it resonates with you, which it does, it becomes the mirroring effect of all things. You're a macro of a micro. The universe is inside you. You are the universe. And so all this stuff, once creating fluidity, that expansive aha moment you just had right now is holy shit. And so your fluidity, your wu-wei, your effortless action will be materialized through that. And so people get caught up in the mindset of the stories of their human experience, and they don't even tap into their potential. Now, that particular person I speak of, all the potential came with the vision, yet didn't realize, even though through spiritual practice had no idea of how much they were limiting themselves, and in turn it materialized into mortality. Going on to your next life under the construct of your own consciousness is one thing, as opposed to ignorance and naivete, not realizing that human experience is very limited. And that is, unfortunately, many people in their incarnation, they don't exhibit these potentials. And that's why spiritual leaders like yourself are here to mimic that and help them realize that resonance.
Holy shit.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so you exhibited that through your life's journey, and you were always struggling with the personality, the ego, and that presented itself through the pursuit of, movies and celebrity and stardom and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was an ego-driven sort of existence.
Yeah.
Yet, you attempted to put on this humility because you were told that that's part of the spiritual path.
That's right. Especially the Catholicism, this ultimate.
Well,
humility. Yeah.
Again, knowing who you are, Why do you need to be humbled knowing who you are? Is there some level of moral compass that needs to be subject to this? No, not at all.
No.
But most people find it somewhat a derivative of a narcissism or egotism or this, all-knowing, and this self-confidence is nothing more than this present moment.
Oh my.
It presents itself to others where they go, I don't like that guy. He's so full of himself, because they're so deficient themselves.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right,
So when you bring the resonance in, all their shit comes up. All of it comes up. Does this make sense now?
Yes. And just before the call, before we went on the air, I was talking about the last podcast that I went on, and one of my spiritual teachers had told me that there's a transmission that I was giving, right? And that it resonated with the entire audience of the podcast. And it was overwhelmingly positive stuff coming from it. Usually comment section is filled with at least 2 or 3 people that are just there to troll. And it was almost bereft of all of that. And she said, because there's a transmission that, and it was the first time I had heard, and I was telling you that I had a transmission. It wasn't something external that was blasting me. It was something inside of me. And she made me realize that there was something in me that comes out. And now you're.
Well, it's not a something. It's a knowing. But you keep squeezing yourself around peg into a square hole. Stop. You don't need to. You need to allow. Accept and allow.
And it doesn't come with the narcissism, because my mind would say the spiritual ego is even bigger than the regular ego. But what you're
these are all constructs of your mind.
It's a construct. You can embody that. You can actually embody that, and it don't have to have this.
And this returns to the method.
All signs have pointed that I'm ready to.
As we put it within Taoism, all rivers return to the ocean.
I dig the cut of your jib. Oh, wow. It's one of the most powerful moments in my entire life, right here, right now.
That's all that matters. All right, my dear friend. Well, this has been an incredible realization.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough. And I look forward to.
We have just begun.
We've just begun, the beginning of the beginning.
So what I'm going to do is, if you want me to publish this, I will.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all your social. If you got social, right? I think you have social, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have socials. Yeah, I posted some.
I'm going to put all the social under this podcast. I'm going to send you my cell phone number. We'll be in contact and we'll get you started. And what I want to ask you in closing, what is your definition of consciousness?
This is Tom Campbell's definition, which is awareness plus choice. But what is my definition?
Yeah, what's your definition?
Different, right? I'm catching. Consciousness to me is the everything. It's the base from which all things come. It's the fundamental building block of all of everything. I just felt a very powerful energy shoot off the top left part of my head as I said that. Consciousness is all. And it's the only thing that is the most fundamental thing of all.
Booyah.
Ooh, fucking yeah.
Welcome.
It feels good to be home.
Welcome, brother. Well, this is very, very exciting. I love the answer. It's never the same out of all the hundreds of podcasts I've done. And it is beautifully, eloquently materialized right now.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to thank you for sharing this present moment. And people are going to love this. And like I said, I'm going to get you started after this. And we're off to the races, my dear friend.
I don't think I've been this excited in a long time. I cannot wait, truly. Thank you for all of this, really.
Just the beginning. Just the beginning. All right, brother. Well, I want to thank you for sharing today. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the universe for bringing you into my life. And I want to thank the audience for sharing their time with us today. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again.